Hi BookTube, happy Monday and welcome back to the vlog. I took a couple of days break from vlogging because I had my birthday weekend, and then going into this week I knew I would be very busy with work because we're getting close to like year end, finalizing dates of things like that, and I just knew I would be absolutely slammed after taking 2 days off last week, and that was very much the case. So it was nice to just relax for a couple of days. But I'm back to do the vlog, and I thought I'd just catch you up on what I've been reading. I haven't read that much because I was out and about for those 2 days, and then I was doing a bunch of cooking over the weekend, so I didn't actually read as much as I normally would. But again, just relaxing, as the year is winding down. But I thought I'd just catch you up on what I've been up to. So I read Once Upon a Royal Christmas by Terry Wilson, and I read one of her previous royal books because she wrote Once Upon a Royal Summer, I believe was the title, and it was very much similar to this one, where there's a acting princess, that's someone who dresses up in the costume, and then they encounter a real life prince, and so yeah, those two storylines were the same, and the covers are very similar as well. But the first one I liked better than this one, the one Once Upon a Royal Summer. With this one, it was just it was too like cliche and overly sweet. I don't know. It was just like ugh. Like it was so heavy-handed with some of the things. But the idea, I like the idea of it, the concept of it, because the main character has started her own. It's not just like she's wanted to, she dreamed of being a princess, and then she was able to act like that, has a career of that. But like she started her own business and is able to empower women. And you can wear a ball gown but also be taken it serious. That whole kind of thing, really liked. But she enters a contest that's been hosted by a real royal family because they're trying to like invigorate their tourist season, because it's a really small country, made up country, where they want to have people come for the winter tourism. And so she gets crowned like Princess Snowflake. And at first, when she meets the real life prince, she thinks he's Prince Charming acting in that role, but he's actually the real prince. And so they have a really nice meeting. But then when they come to find out that both of them aren't who they each of them thought they were, because he thought she was the real princess that's coming, but the real princess was coming a couple days later. So then they have this like antagonist relationship. But yeah, the story, it was just okay. It didn't have any spark to it that I would have liked. So that was the only ebook that I read. And then the other ones I read physically, so I have these here. So I'll jump to the other romance, and this was another disappointing one. Her Mistletoe Cowboy by Marie Ferrarella. I've read a couple of books by her and liked them. This one, it was just, there's no oomph to the story at all. There was nothing that made it stand out. It was just bland. Bland and frustrating, because the main character is coming from San Francisco, and she's coming from a very, very much a place of privilege, where she's the black sheep in a way, because she doesn't have this like high volume career earning lots of money, but also tons of stress. So she's the black sheep in her family in that aspect, but she's still coming from. She's talking about how she gets hotels for $1,000 up per night. And so she gets a job working in Forever, Texas, this itty bitty town where there's one restaurant and a hotel that was just put up like the year before, and like almost nothing else in this town. So not even a small town. You could barely call it a town. So she initially starts complaining about the location and how she can't wait to get out of there and that kind of thing. But so that was okay. But then what really irked me was she was sent there because she's interviewing two brothers who had set up a foundation to help boys, in particular teenagers, who are like almost becoming like criminals, but they're trying to stop them before they go too far and have like a record and things like that. And so when she goes on the assignment, she immediately thinks, without any reasoning behind it, that the two brothers that are running this are up to no good themselves and are just in it for the money, or something like that, or I don't know. So she's questioning not just the brothers, but everyone she meets continually. So it's like after she's interviewed everyone in the town and that she's interviewed the two brothers, she's still thinking this. And it was just like it wasn't until like chapter 11 or so where she finally kind of dies it down. That's like more than halfway through this book. And I just could not stand her at that point because she couldn't take anyone at their word. And a lot of that comes from the family that the environment she grew up in. But at the same time, I feel like she's not being a good reporter with that kind of mindset. Like, how can you keep a job? And like constantly just stirring them up, and just doesn't believe anyone that she's interviewing. So anyway, but yeah, again, that doesn't necessarily reflect on this author because I do like this author's work. Just this one did not suit me at all. Let's see. The next one is Borders by Thomas King, and it's illustrated by Natasha Donovan. I was like, why not, read a book that's pretty quick because it's not much dialogue, but tons and tons of illustrations, and there's a lot of pretty scenery here. So like lots of pretty sunset on the plains, and let's see if I can find. I know there's a couple other ones here, but this is about a family where there's two siblings, and one of the sister that's older, this one here, she decides that she wants to get off of like the reservation in Canada, and she wants to have her own place in Salt Lake City because she thinks like the reservation is boring. And so, but then the mom decides eventually after like a year or two to go visit her. She can't cross the border because she gets stuck in limbo between the Canadian and the U.S. border because she won't identify herself as a Canadian citizen. They keep asking her, what's your citizenship? What's your, and things like that. She keeps saying Blackfoot. She won't acknowledge that she's from Canada. And so they won't let her in, but they also won't let in Canada back in, but they won't let her in the U.S. as well. So she spends days and days there with the boy, who is also like really confused on what's going on. They're sleeping in their car because like in the limbo place, there's not a hotel. They're lucky there's a convenience store right there that they can have some kind of food and water. But I was getting I get irritated with the mom because like the boy's he's getting really hungry and things like that. But then eventually there's this news, it comes to people's attention, and so all these news broadcasters come, and so they're filming the border patrol as the mom is not antagonizing them, but just will not answer their questions because they keep saying, what's your citizenship, and she just will not say either one. So even though the boy keeps saying, we're from Canada, we just came from Canada, and he's even wearing a Canadian hat at one point to help them out. They won't accept his answer because he's a minor. So it was illustrated, but it was okay. I was a little bit frustrated, but I mean I can understand the intention of the story as well. And let's see, this next one is The Far Side of the Loch by Melissa Wiley. This is book 2 in the Martha years, which is Laura Ingalls Wilder's great grandma, and this takes place in Scotland in the Highlands. And what I like about this is even though the author didn't have much to go on as far as the actual person Martha, they knew was like how, where she ended up in America and her husband and a little bit of circumstance of that, but they didn't know much about her childhood. So a lot of the book is just the what most likely would have happened in the time period, in the location where she was at. So you get a lot of folklore and history of the area, which I really appreciated. And so this is following Martha, where like I said, this is book 2, but she lives on a lake, and her aunt and uncle and all of their kids are going to be moved to the other side of the lake, and so now they're going to have family where they can just go back and forth on the lake to visit. But even though her father is like the lord of the area, and people have to give money to him or give chickens or honey or whatever to pay for renting the land, he doesn't live in a fancy house. He lives in a stone house. They talk about how small it is, and they also talk about bed boxes, I think is what it's called. And I had never heard of that, so I was in there Googling what that means, and it's basically like a chest of drawers, but you open up a door, and there's a little bed in there, and so it's like a wood panel, or sometimes there's curtains that will just shut it off. And so it talks about when some of the siblings, some of her cousins, when they came to stay at her place, they were like, why is it so dark in the bed, and the ceiling is so low? It sounded almost creepy to me as a kid if I was sleeping in that kind of darkness, because I know often kids can be scared of the dark. But anyway, so she lives in the stone house, but the aunt and uncle, they're renting the place from them, live in this gigantic sounds like almost castle, not a castle, but, you know, elaborate, where there's a ballroom and there's like there's a parlor and, you know, all these like different rooms, and she gets lost. But it's just a very basic story. But yeah, again, I liked that, you know, learning about the history of that time period, because I've read a couple of books on Scotland, but nothing in depth on you know, Scottish history or folklore. I feel like I know just about what most people know, but they did talk about a couple of different foods that I want to try and cook myself, because I've never heard of them before. Like there was something with like with oatmeal, but it was a savory thing, and it sounded almost like a stuffing. And I can't remember the name of it right now, but yeah, anyway, I just wanted to explore that. I do have a Lornell's Water cookbook, but they didn't include, you know, the Scottish history or anything like that. But anyway, I wanted to slowly get through this series, because I own all of the books in the Martha years, pretty sure. So I actually, like, now that I have so many of these books, I want to, you know, read through all the different generations and learn about that. But anyway, I think that's gonna be it for this vlog. I just wanted to, like, you know, recap what I've been up to outside of reading, you know, do my normal thing of walking and just trying to take it easy. Because today was it was awful in a way, but I feel like I pushed through a lot of work. So then maybe the rest of the week will be easy. We will see. Because later this week I'm going to be traveling, so I want work to be, like, you know, as as relaxing or like as slow as possible. That way I won't be doing all of it all at once, which would be just a nightmare. But anyway, wish me luck on that, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Thanks, BookTube.